On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks have reportedly shown interest in Isaiah Stewart from the Detroit Pistons. Should the Mavericks make a trade for him? And let's talk about the Mavs versus the Blazers. All that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, where we, let it ride. It's a day late, but you can still let it ride, right? You can still let it ride for that. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On Mavs your first listen today, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, leave a 5-star review, like the video, and comment anything below. Let me know in the comment section. Would you trade Tim Hardaway for Isaiah Stewart? Other things have to be included and all that because of salaries and all that. But would you just do it? Let's say everything worked out. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA for a full deposit match up to $100. We're going to talk about the Mavs versus the Blazers. Mavs get a win over the weekend. We'll talk about that. Luka Doncic just literally walking through the competition. Walking through it. We've got really good execution and really good contributions from Dante Exum again, from Tim Hardaway Jr., Derrick Jones Jr., just good stuff all around. Got good stuff from Markieff Morris off the bench. Good stuff from pretty much almost everybody involved in this one. So I want to talk about that game. I want to definitely give it its due. But we'll start with Isaiah Stewart today because the rumor coming out of The Athletic is that the Mavericks are interested in him. So what does that mean and all that? Thanks everybody for sticking around and for all the messages I got. Where's the podcast? Where's the podcast? We were going to have a post-game episode. I had something lined up and then it fell through over the weekend. I was out visiting family and traveling, and I've gotten like 4 hours of sleep, and I kind of got sick on the way back. I know there's a virus going around everywhere here in Dallas, and so I may have picked it up in the airport on the way back because I'm not feeling that great today. But your team every day means every day. We're continuing on. We'll have a post game later today for the Nuggets game as well. And so let's get into this. All right. The Mavericks, according to James Edwards, who knows the Pistons, covers the Pistons for The Athletic, he did this whole thing about how the Pistons have 23 straight losses and how something's got to be done, right? I mean, you get to 23 straight losses and you just got to make something happen. Something's got to give, right? And so he goes through all these different trade scenarios, and it's like, let's trade all these different guys. And then like the footnote of it, where he goes through a scenario in which, he goes through a bunch of different scenarios. In a footnote, he said, other note, contending teams like Boston, Oklahoma City, and Dallas have shown great interest in Isaiah Stewart, league sources tell The Athletic. And so now, if you've logged on to Twitter at any point this morning, you know that the Mavs, that Isaiah Stewart is now a player that people are interested in, that he could help some things that the Mavericks do. And so I want to talk about him, and I want to talk about how, like, what he would bring to the team. The contract issues to trade for Isaiah Stewart are the same issues the Mavs have trading Josh Green. They both got signed to an extension. They were both part of that 2020 class, that weird come in during the COVID year 2020 class. They signed extensions, and their extensions don't kick in until next year. And so they've got this poison pill contract. Good friend of the show, CBA Mavs on Twitter and CBA Mavs on Mavs Moneyball put out a good piece about what it would take for the Mavericks to trade Josh Green. It's kind of the same stuff that it would be to trade Isaiah Stewart. Just the numbers would be different. Like fill in the nouns and like everything, like fill in the different nouns and the different values, and everything else is like all the concepts are the same with it. It's just hard because when you trade out a player that's a quote unquote poison pill contract, you're sending a team like more money, or you're sending a team a different amount of money than you're receiving. It's not just like, you look at, if you just try to trade these two even straight up for each other, you go to the trade machine on Fanspo and say, all right, Josh Green, semi-disappointing player for the Mavericks on an extension. Isaiah Stewart, semi-disappointing player on an extension for the Pistons. One making $5.2 million, one making $4.7. That's only like $500,000 apart. They should be able to do that. Can't do it. It's just the new CBA has made things difficult with things like that. It's not as easy to just go to the trade machine, make a trade, and send it out, which makes things less fun for us, but maybe helps the teams going forward. I don't know why they did. But let's look at Isaiah Stewart. Let's look at the player himself, and let's say the Mavericks find a way to do it, right? I don't want to spend too much time going through the cap minutia. There are other shows out there for that. Let's have some fun and think about what he would bring to the Mavericks if the Mavericks figured it out. Nico Harrison said, you know what? We do have great interest in Isaiah Stewart. We want to go get him. We want to trade some stuff for him, or we want to, send a contract over there, send something over there, and let's get this guy. He's 23 years old in May, so he's 22 right now. He's in his 4th year in the NBA. Like I said, he signed that extension, and here's his contract over the next couple of years here. He's making $5.2 million on the rookie deal this year. And for the next 4 years, he's making $15 million a year. That 4th year, though, that's the 2027-28 year, is a team option. And so that's good. The Mavs, the team would have team control over that last year. And so if it was disappointing, you can get off that deal if you want. And so that's a positive. $15 million over the next couple of years is not even that much money. If you think about how much money it is right now, like what, 142 is going to be the cap. Well, it's like 10% of the cap, and it'll go down after that. It's not a ton of what the cap is going to be. And so, okay, yeah, it'd be 10% next year, 9.6 the next year, 8.7, and then like under 8% year after that. So 15 is not as much as it was like 5 or 6 years ago. So you've got to think about those numbers in your head. Isaiah Stewart, the player, though. I asked Kuka Hill, Locked on Pistons, because he's watched him his whole career, knows everything about him. He's going to know way more than I do. And so this is what Ku said about him. I just asked him as a player, like, who is he as a player right now? Because I knew what Isaiah Stewart's supposed to be. Like, when you don't cover a team day to day, you know what they're supposed to be. You know, like a one-sentence descriptor on him, but I wanted the whole thing. Here's what Ku said about Isaiah Stewart, Beef Stew. He's a good defender, really good switch defender, underrated rim protector for his size. He's only 6'8". He's this big body, like, forward, center. They've played him at center at times. They've played him at 4 to start the year. They've played him next to Duren. They've tried all these different things with the Pistons, and obviously nothing is working. They've lost 23 straight games. So Isaiah Stewart, good defender at 6'8", can hold his own, decent rim protector. Ku said overall defensively, he's pretty dang good. He's not going to transform your defense by himself, like he's not an elite defender, but he's a very good defender, could fit in a system and all that. Extremely physical and has that Draymond type of attitude. Maybe he's not going to punch you, but remember he got into people. I remember what was it? Him and LeBron got into it before, so like he's willing to like mix it up with people. So that's defense, and you hear that as a Mavericks fan, and you go, all right, I can get on board with that. Like, I can get on board with that type of guy. The Mavs need one of those guys. I mean, 6'8", bring in some size to that position. Nick, why can't he be the big wing that the big wing that you've been talking about the Mavericks need to get, the big defensive wing that they can bring in to be that guy? Now, let me tell you about the offensive end. A little different. This is what Ku said. Not the best hands rolling to the rim. Struggles to finish in small spaces around the rim. Not a good passer. Not a ball handler. Doesn't set the best screens. He's okay. Okay. So, okay. Not a lot there. He's been a developing shooter. That's something they've really focused on in Detroit. He has been trying to add the three-point shot. He took barely any his first 2 years. Last year, he took 4 a game and shot like 33%. So, like, not that great, but okay. This year, he's taken 3.5 a game and shooting like 37%. He's inconsistent, hasn't proven to be a good shooter consistently. So, he's like not good enough a shooter to be a stretch 4 because of the forwards right now in the NBA. I mean, you have to shoot the ball really well. There's no more stretch 4s. You have to shoot the ball well unless you're like a Draymond type where you can be elite, super elite in a different area. Ku said he could probably be good enough to be considered a stretch 5. And so that's where I go with the Maverick side of this. If they want a guy like Isaiah Stewart, you're looking at him as your maxi replacement. You can't look at him as all right, we're going to shove him into the starting lineup and he's going to help anchor the defense. Like, he's just not that good of it. He's not good enough of an offensive player. Look at what's happening with the Pistons right now. It's one of Ku's big complaints. I listen to Locked on Pistons. It's my job. And he's been complaining about the lack of spacing he's shooting 36% from 3, but he's not hitting enough and he's not a good enough shooter to where teams are, we got to stick with Isaiah Stewart. And so it's messing up their spacing. It's messing up a bunch of stuff. He's not a good enough passer. He's not a good enough, ball handler, create off or anything like that. So he's not adding anything on offense. He'll get some offensive rebounds here and there. He'll be physical, Not good enough of a screen setter. Like, you're just hitting a point where there's too many things that are not good enough in areas where you need them to be. So if you're going to bring him in for the Mavericks, expect these things. He could be a bench defender. Okay, not really making me excited right now. And a bench defender that comes in and brings that defense and, like, who do you play him next to? Do you play him next to Dwight Powell? No. Do you play him next to Rashawn Holmes? No. Could you play him next to Lively? Like, no, you can't. And so who would you play him next to? Grant Williams, Maxi Kleba? Like, you could try that back and forth, but then you're kind of stuck. Like, you're not adding versatility to your lineup. You're not adding things like that. Like, you're just not he's just a tough, he's a square peg, and the Mavs have a bunch of round holes that they need to fill. I don't think he would fill those spots. He would bring good stuff defensively. The Mavericks could figure out how to use him. I think they could. I think they could fit with the Tim Hardaway Curry. I don't know who they end up trading for him, but the shooting that the Mavs can bring off the bench around Isaiah Stewart and try and make that happen. And would Luka make him look better? Yeah, probably. Yeah, for sure. Could it be a Derrick Jones Jr. situation where he comes in and all of a sudden he takes all these open threes, which he's getting open threes now because nobody trusts his shot? Sure, yeah. The thing is, though, like I said earlier, it's very hard to trade for him because of how you have to move around the cap and maneuver that and try and figure out what to send out and back. So to me, I'm out. Like, I don't see how he comes in and helps the Mavericks. He's so young still. That contract could look really good, but I didn't like that contract when it happened. You can go back to Locked On NBA. I was on Locked On NBA that day when this contract goes down. I was like, I just don't really get this contract. I don't really get what they're getting. I don't get it with I don't get what this player is long term. And maybe the Pistons do, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I just don't understand how does he fit in a playoff atmosphere? No one's going to guard him. He's got to hit enough threes in order to make it work. That's why if I can't envision you as a player that fits into a playoff rotation like this, I just don't want to invest the time in it for this Mavericks team. This is not a Mavericks team that's looking to develop guys long term. That they need to add some things, right? Not looking to invest more time in people they have to develop long term. Lively, Omax, Hardy, sure. But like, all right, bring in another project. Okay, you already got some projects right now you're working on. Josh Green even considers is kind of a project right now. And so that's where I am right now. The Mavericks are going to make a trade and give up assets and do all that. They've got to bring in somebody that's not a project. You've got to help the team right now. And that's where I am with that. Coming up, let's talk about this Mavs versus Blazers game. What did we see? How did Luka just literally walk through the competition in this one? We'll talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. All you have to do is go to Prize Picks and pick 2 to 5 players or 2 to 6 players, and you find their stat projections. Prize Picks has all these projections on all these players. Where, if you ever play that game with your friends, how many points do you think this player is going to score tonight? Or how many rebounds are they going to get? Or like, let's add points, rebounds, assists together. How many touchdowns do you think? You just kind of like see who's right at the end of the game if you're watching it together. Well, you do it and you can win some money on this. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and you find those projections. And so you pick more or less based on those projections. You can pick Luka, more points than the projection. You can pick less points on other players like, I don't know, Devin Booker or whoever. Just pick a player randomly. I don't know. They also have a bunch of different specials and stuff going on all the time. I think for Christmas Day, I saw one of them. Yeah, they still have it up. Kevin Durant, 0.5 points. If you think Kevin Durant's going to score 1 point on Christmas Day against the Mavericks, you win on that one. So pick those projections and go to prizepicks.com. See what's available for you. Again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Get the first deposit match up to $100. So put $100 in, you get $100 as well. So you get $200 total to play with. Again, prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. We appreciate each and every one of you. If you want to subscribe to the subtext to get more content, video content, all that kind of stuff, I send rumors, I send notes, I send summaries to interviews on other shows. So I'll go watch the Rachel Nichols show, and I'll send you just some notes and thoughts that I have about the interview and things like that. If you want stuff like that, subscribe to the subtext, click the link in the description, text the number. Either way works. All right, Isaac. Let's get into this Mavs versus Blazers game. Luka, just on a different level. One player of the week for the last week in the West. Another 40-point, 12 rebound, 10 assist game. Yawn. There's what more words can be said about Luka? You know,
He played mate. Sorry.
he did play effing amazing. He really did. And like, I think
I need a recovery beer.
he probably does need a recovery beer. And you know what? It's been too long. Luka's been too good. For the win for player of the week, he gets
Luka Doncic, Luka Doncic, Luka Doncic, Luka Doncic, Luka Doncic.
he gets the Doncic dance song because, man, he's just been so good. It's been so great to watch him and see how he's been. I mean, honestly, since the birth of his kid, he's just been awesome and off the charts. In this game, he went 15 of 28. And we didn't see as much double teaming early on in the game as we saw later on in this game. We've seen a lot of doubling recently, but it started around the third quarter where they really started getting to double. But what they were giving him was they were dropping. They were playing in drop coverage. DeAndre Ayton would, instead of stepping up to the screen with Luka and like either doubling or the Blazers deciding to switch and give Luka the mismatch, they had DeAndre Ayton, the center, drop back. And they had Luka he can get his little mid-range floater going wherever he wanted to. Luka took 16 two-point shots in this game. 16. And he hit 11 of them. He was 11 of 16 from two, and he hit a bunch of mid-range shots. He had a bunch of real close shots. Actually, I kind of look at his shot chart here. Yeah, he just hit a bunch of shots close. He had like 5 little mid-range, like the 10 feet, like the 8 to 10 feet kind of thing where he gets into the paint and he just rises up over a player and hits a floater. That happened at the beginning of the third quarter. The Mavericks were up by 11 at halftime. They come in from the third quarter. Luka, Exum, Derrick Jones Jr., Grant Williams, and Dwight Powell. We'll talk about Lively in a second. That's one of my other big takeaways from this one. And 18 seconds in, Luka gets the exact same thing I just referenced. Ayton drops back, and then he gets Simons in front of him and flat-footed, and Luka rises up, hits a floater, and Chauncey Billups, the Blazers head coach, calls a timeout 18 seconds into the quarter. They just ended halftime, and Luka comes out, hits one shot at him, and they go, you know what? Everything we just talked about, we got to talk about it again because you guys aren't executing this. And so Luka hits that free throw line type shot. And it was just, he literally walked through the competition in this one. I don't know if I've seen an easier 40-point game from somebody. There's a point at like 5 minutes. This is going around social media all over the place. I'm seeing this clip. About 5 minutes in the second quarter. And Luka gets a rebound and just literally walks almost from one side of the court to the other. Harp and Follow, we're talking about it. It looked like a YMCA basketball play because it looked like it was in slow motion. It looks like you're playing with guys that have like lost a step but are still really good and just not as athletic as they used to be. It was wild to watch Luka like just operate in this game. Considering even how many defenders that they have, like you just can't throw a good defender out. You just can't throw defenders at Luka right now. He's too good. So that's why teams have been double teaming him a lot. He talked about that after the game. Talked about how he's been enjoying the double teams almost because the team has been working well despite him being like able to be in the play. Mavs had 27 assists in this game. Blazers only had 17. So the Mavs were passing the ball, and they had 27 assists. Luka had 10 of them. So that means 17 assists came from from other players. They're passing around and kicking it around and all that. So Luka, absolutely incredible. The non-Luka minutes were huge in this one too. Because in the second quarter, Luka sat out, and he got to sit out almost half of the second quarter, which is huge. He only ended up playing 37 minutes in this game, but that's only for Luka right now because he has been playing like 40 minutes every single night. But he got to sit out the whole beginning of the second half, or this whole beginning of the second quarter, because the Mavs won those minutes 18-5 with Curry, Exum, Tim Hardaway, Grant Williams, and Markieff Morris. They were passing the ball around. They were getting stops. They were kicking it out in transition. Exum was making good cuts, and Grant Williams had a couple of good drives, and he had a decent showing in this one. That was the only shot that he made, but I thought he made an impact on the defensive end. Just great run. And then in the fourth quarter, Luka subbed back in at the 7-minute mark, and the Mavs won those minutes too, 8-6. So they won the non-Luka minutes. If you go overall, 26 to. Do my math here. 26-11. they won the non-Luka minutes. Huge. That's massive in any game like this. So Luka Doncic leads this one. He's been an amazing leader for the Mavericks this season. We've talked about that all week, last week, and I just want to highlight it again because I feel like that he's setting the tone for everybody else, the way that he can create his offense, the way that he's unselfish in his offense. Even he took 28 shots, and I felt like he was unselfish at times in this game because when he was getting doubled, he passes it away, and he's like, all right, I'll be the decoy on this play. Coming up, though, I want to talk about Dereck Lively because he goes down with an injury. He's going to be out for this Denver game, this next one. And so we want to talk about what that means for the team going forward. And so we'll break that all down and talk about what it means coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds, player spreads, all that kind of stuff. And go to FanDuel.com/lockedon right now. You can put $5 down on any money line, and you can win, or you get $150 if your team wins. So you get the money that you win off of the money line bet, plus you also get $150 in the bonus bets that you can add. Right now, the Mavs are a plus 270 underdog against the Denver Nuggets. By the time you're listening to this, the game may have already happened. But for example, so you can put down $5 on that money line. Mavs win this game, and then you get the $150 plus whatever you win in that as well. Since they're plus 270, that's a pretty good profit right there. Nuggets are minus 335. There's all kinds of different money lines you can put stuff down on. So go check it out. They have futures as well. They have star player props. They have Luka ones. Yeah, they do. So for a game, for example, Luka's over-under for tonight for the Mavs versus the Nuggets game is 33.5. Interesting. 33.5 without Kyrie. It seems like he seems like he just walks onto a court and puts up more than 33.5 right now. So I think I might go over on that one. You can put money down on that. Let's see. All right. If I put down $10, I win like $8. If I put down $50, I can win $42. On that one. So all kinds of cool stuff like that. Again, FanDuel.com/lockedon.
I have to apologize that you felt that he should have played more.
I have no reason to play that drop. I don't know why. This is the one I picked. All right, Isaac, let's get into the rest of this game. Dereck Lively at the 6-minute mark of the first quarter goes out with an injury. He is going up for a rebound, an offensive rebound attempt. Jeremy Grant kind of like walks into him and then goes wide-legged on it. DeAndre Ayton kind of pushes Dereck Lively and pushes him into him, and then Luka's going for the rebound. It's like a big huddle of like masses in the air. Dereck Lively comes down on Jeremy Grant's foot, and he goes down. You can tell he tweaked his ankle. He's wearing a walking boot at shoot-around for the Blazers game, and so if the Mavericks are going to be without him for a little while, that's tough. Richaun Holmes missed the last game. And Maxi Kleber's been out with this dislocated small pinky toe forever, it feels like. And the Mavs are really sucking wind right now at the big spot. There's one silver lining I can put to this if the Mavs are going to be without Lively for an extended period of time. One silver lining. I'll try to pitch it to you. The Mavs small ball units have not been that good this season. They just haven't. They've tried it. They've run with Grant at the 5. They've run with, I don't know if we can count Maxey at the 5 as a small ball unit in the NBA anymore. They've tried all kinds of different stuff like that. They tried Markieff Morris at the 5. That actually worked in this Blazers game. We'll mention that a little bit later. But their small ball units have not been good. I think their small ball units do need to be good because Dereck Lively, there's going to be a playoff series the Mavs play. I don't know who it's going to be against. We can go up and down the lineup and we can talk about it. There's going to be a team where he's going to struggle against. There's going to be some where he's going to be good, but there's going to be some where we go, oh my gosh, the Mavs are they cannot play Dereck Lively in this right now. Rookie center in the playoffs against the team, it doesn't have a reliable shot right now. Foul prone. There's just going to be a matchup where we go, oh my gosh, they need a different look. They need to have a different look. And I don't think it can be Dwight Powell. I'm not sure it can be Richaun Holmes. They've got to have a different look. And they've got to have a 5-out spacing look, which is why I think Jason Kidd was trying to push Maxey as the backup 5 early. Let's run a ton of these minutes so that we can figure out this lineup early in the season. So in the playoffs, hopefully, we can play that more. They've got to find that kind of look. They've got to find something and this is what the regular season is for, to run that. I think they should run a bunch of minutes like that. Especially against a team like Denver. Just try it. See what happens. You're not favored to win this game. What was the FanDuel line? They're not favored to win this game at all. What are they? They're an 8.5 point underdog because Kyrie's not going to play. Lively's not going to play. So you're down 8.5 points. It's one of the, it's not a huge spread, but it still is a decent one. Run the small ball units. Try it out. See what happens. The Morris at 5 seems to have worked. I want to see Grant Williams at 5 a little more. They've tried that here and there, and it hasn't worked really at all. Let's see what it looks like if Derek Lively's going to be out. Because you want to win games, but you also want to try to experiment in this too. The Grant Williams at the 5 lineups have actually been pretty good, but they haven't run it very much at all. 116 possessions. That's not a ton. But let's run it. Let's see what happens. Run that. See what kind of looks you can get out of it. See, how the team reacts to it. See what kind of problems you run into. See what kind of, like how it benefits your team going forward. I think that's the one silver lining you could take if Lively's going to miss some time here. He's in a walking boot, so we'll see. Didn't seem like it was going to be months, or weeks or whatever, but we'll see. You just don't know with ankles. It can be tough, and you don't want to mess with it. Same thing with Kyrie with his foot injury. You just don't want to mess with feet injuries. You just don't want to risk it. Other players I thought had a big impact in this game. Tim Hardaway Jr. continues just to play pretty well in Kyrie's absence. 25 points in this one, not efficient, but scored when they needed him to. 5 threes, and he hit 2 other shots out of that. 4 free throws as well. Got another charge or so. He's got 15, I think now, tied with Brunson. I think now for the lead. He was a plus 12 in this game because the minutes, especially the minutes that he played in that second quarter without Luka. And then in the third quarter when the Mavs pushed back after the Blazers went on a 10-0 run, cut it to 8, and the Mavericks were like, no, we're taking this lead back. He was great. Derek Jones Jr. was really good. Hit a couple of threes. He seems to be back there. 4 assists for Derek Jones Jr. too, which is not something that he does a ton, but the Mavs were moving the ball around, getting the ball to different players. And he had an alley-oop from Markieff Morris off of a Luka double team that was great. That was with a minute left in the game. It sealed it. Derek Jones Jr., just great. He had a couple of good drives too, where this is the stuff we want to see, the advanced stuff from the Mavericks wings. You get the ball on the three-point line, and if somebody comes and closes out on you, because teams are starting to respect Derek Jones Jr. from 3 now, they run out and try and close out. You've got to be able to attack that closeout. And guys in the past weren't able to really do that. Reggie Bullock famously just didn't do that at all, really. Didn't attack closeouts. But Derek Jones Jr., 1 dribble, had a little crossover, finished with an and one on 1 drive attempt, and I was like, let's go. Let's go. Dante Exum just continues to be really, really good too. Oh my gosh. 18 points in this one. He had 3 assists. He was looking for his own shot a little bit more in this one. 8 of 11. 1 of 2 from 3. So he was getting his stuff done in the paint. He was attacking. He was getting he got to the line one time on I think it was a technical, but maybe it was I think he had an and one. Only 2 turnovers. We keep pointing out how he just doesn't turn the ball over that often, which is so huge and crucial. He's the 3rd ball handler for the Mavericks. It's been amazing to watch him over this stretch and just to see what he's brought this team. And I'll keep saying the same stuff about him because it continues to be true. He continues to keep bringing it, and I'm very glad that he is. My stake in the Exum estate is looking really good right now. And every game he just adds to it, and he becomes a bigger part of this team. And when Kyrie comes back, the Mavericks are going to have a weird situation to figure out in that starting lineup. Or when Josh comes back. Mavs team is pretty deep right now. It's nice. Their depth is really helping them. This schedule, though, coming up is really what's gonna be really test this team and test this depth and see what it's really all about. But there you go. Isaiah Stewart rumors. Mavs versus the Blazers. A good win for the Mavericks. They're 16-9 now. They're pretty comfortably sitting in 3rd place in the West right now. But only 2 games separates the Mavs at 3 and the Rockets at 9. So you can't really fall asleep in the West at all at any point this season. And the Mavs are looking to get Luka some rest at some point because he's just been playing so much. But there you go. Guys, let us know in the comment section if you would trade Tim Hardaway for Isaiah Stewart straight up, if you could figure out all the money and all that. We'll be back tonight. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.